All right, so today we're going to jump into crypto banking and exploring some of the emerging banks that are starting to change the game when it comes to your own banking platform. A lot of you guys have been asking about us doing more interviews and research around this kind of aspect of how cryptocurrency may have a future in the banking system. We're going to do that today. My name is Paul Barrow. Welcome back to TechPath. All right, joining me today is a couple of guys who've been on the show before. Brad Scrivner, who is the Chief Executive Officer over at Vast Bank, and also Stephen Taylor, who is the CIO at Vast Bank. Great to have you guys back on the show. Thanks for stopping in.
Hey, thanks for having us, Paul. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right, so guys, you're going to feel like this is a pelting of questions because we have so many. You're one of the first banks that have moved into offering crypto. And just as an example, I want to cut to you guys' website real quick. Fast Banking Crypto, taking the complexity and the anxiety out of owning crypto. You guys have a great app available as well on this, so very cool. I can go in and buy on crypto. So I want you guys to tell me, what big changes did you make from the first time we talked to you probably 6 months ago? You said a lot of this was in the works. Now it's here today. Maybe Brad, you could open with what have you done in those sense?
Yeah, so we've continued to enhance that product to make sure that it's scaling well and that our customers are having a good experience. I mean, since we first launched that, basically in 4 months, we've grown at 5 times the rate of what our retail customer base was over the 40-year period of time. So we've got customers in all 50 states. We've got customers in the 3 U.S. territories, D.C., Guam, and Puerto Rico. So we feel really good about that onboarding rate and the excitement. I think some things that have been interesting to see is that onboarding is certainly impacted, and we can track it with the pricing of the market, Bitcoin and others. So there seems to be more interest, perhaps fear of missing out and those type of things that as the price actually goes up. Clearly, we've been in a little bit of a downturn here, right, in terms of what the pricing is and that sort of thing. But I'll let maybe Stephen address some of the more specific aspects of some of the things that have changed with the product itself.
Yeah, since our initial, well, I guess since we talked last, we actually launched the product globally, right? I mean, and we have it available for all, as Brad said, in all 50 states. In addition to that, we've added cryptocurrency. So our initial currency list was, limited on purpose. So we continue to add new cryptocurrencies to our platform as we go. In addition to that, we've made some pretty significant improvements just in the user experience and the overall security of the application. So we continue to try to see areas and monitor where users are having challenges. So we've made the process of bringing money in from other resources and sending out money from other resources, and our card integration. We're making incremental improvements kind of across the board in all the functions just to make the experience as best as we can through the process. So some of the other examples that I might add that we've done, which I think have made a big difference, is we've increased the overall flow in the onboarding process to streamline that. So now you can download the application, go through the entire sign up, fund your account, and purchase crypto, within 5 minutes. So we're pretty proud of the enhancements that have made there. It's helped our onboarding flows as well.
Couple of quick questions there, Stephen. When I'm opening an account at Vast Bank, I've got a checking account. Do I have, in essence, a trading account, or is everything happening inside one account?
So you do have your crypto accounts. Each type of crypto has its own account. So you have your checking account, but you also have a Bitcoin account and Ethereum account. So each type of crypto will have its own account. And as you make the purchases, it seamlessly opens those accounts for you behind the scenes. So the intent is that we're trying to make that portfolio and opening accounts as smooth and seamless as possible.
Okay. Let's get into one of the questions that is brought up within our live streams, probably the most, around just in general banking and the acceptance of crypto. We've seen big banks like Wells Fargo, big online banks like Ally, that have struggled with doing direct deposits and or ACH transfers to, especially if you're using a credit card or using your debit card to purchase crypto. Right. Now they are now giving you the function of ACH or some sort of Plaid integration, depending on the platform. Yep. As to whether how they connect to the bank account. How does it work with you guys? If I've got fiat from another account, I'm getting ready to fund you guys. First, I can just move it over like anything. But once I'm inside Vast, what happens if I want to buy on another exchange?
Yeah, so we do have, as you mentioned, we do have a full integrated checking account that includes your debit card and your checking account. That's all part of opening that account for us. And we have, a very mature payment rail system that we use for all of our different components. So, ACH transactions, wire transactions, all of those standard money movement activities. It's part that you would expect of any mature bank account. For us, right. We do partner with Plaid, so we do have integration with Plaid as well that allows that money movement to be there. It wasn't something that we did as a bolt-on. It was there at our initial launch, both the Plaid integration and the ACH and wire integration. That's all part of our base platform as our bank components.
Yeah, and for some of you that are, you're watching the show, we get so many questions in the chat and just in our Diamond Circle, which is our private member group. One of the things around Plaid is that it's a tool, Essence, that kind of connects two different accounts to really interact within each other's account. So you're kind of opening up your bank account to what's happening with whoever you're transferring to. I use it on an ongoing basis. It's very quick. It does authentication, all those kind of things that can help you kind of connect faster than ACH and definitely faster than a wire. So that's a big benefit, Stephen. I think that is one of the killer aspects of many of those kind of concepts. Let's talk about transfer speed and delays, because that's another factor that comes into play. In how long does it take for us to get access to funds if we were to transfer into an exchange? Is it still the traditional 3 to 5 day thing, or have you guys sped that up?
So I think there's a couple different aspects. So if you go into our app and you pull funds from the other institution using our integrated components with Plaid, you're still going to have the normal delays and holds. If you go to your other institution and you push funds into our account, that's in the traditional rails, as soon as they execute that ACH or wire transfer, those funds can be available immediately. So
really? Okay.
Those are it just depends on how you execute that transaction is very important. It's still not possible in traditional payment rails, and that's just due to the way that the money management system between banks in the U.S. works. Mm-hmm. That's the real limitation. Another thing that we're seeing is even if we're using Plaid, it doesn't mean the other banks are supporting it the way that they need to yet. We're encouraging and we're continuing to see, different banking institutions improve their integration with Plaid as well. So it does depend on which financial institution you're using, but certainly if you go to that institution directly and ACH or wire money to us, then we can make those funds available to immediately to buy crypto.
So I think the infrastructure right now within the banking ecosystem, this is very early days, especially around offering up what's happening with crypto and bank accounts that are doing the same thing. Brad, let's go to you on this one, because I think when I look at the market overall, do you see much more adoption in this space from regional banks such as Vast, or do you think you guys are an outlier and it's going to be some time?
That's a really good question. I do think that you're starting to see some consortiums develop out there. I think that you see people putting their toe in the water. I think they'll be using things like NYDIG as a partnership through maybe FIS or NCR, or some of those things that you're aware there. Those would give you access to Bitcoin. We have access to up to 12 cryptocurrencies right now, and our intention would be to continue to expand that number. Okay, and in our platform, we're able to go ahead and expand that as we do the legal analysis and that sort of thing. So I do think other banks are going to be getting involved in the space. I think you've had, you mentioned earlier, the banks that have made the announcements. But, you know, it's a year after we did our first transaction, which was in January of 2021 on a pilot basis, on an internal basis. And as of right now, from a national bank perspective, we're still the only ones that have that integrated account where you can seamlessly buy and sell and instantly settle between those two accounts.
Okay, so good news and kind of bad news is probably going to be longer than what a lot of people anticipate to really see this happen. I think on a mass layer, we're going to probably see a handful of projects like yours that are really going to flourish well. And we've seen some banks in Wyoming start to really hint because of their their crypto laws and what they're dealing with. So regional banks there that are starting to kind of move in this direction. A couple of things when it gets into these transfer delays and also the whole aspect of instant buying power. You know, because if I transfer right now from, let's say, Chase or an Ally Bank or a Wells Fargo, and I'm going into a traditional exchange, some exchanges will give me immediate credit on my transfer, and they're waiting for the clearing to occur. But some exchanges will give me limited access to those funds, waiting for that clearing to occur. How do you guys handle that?
Yeah, so we give access to up to the first 1,000 to purchase crypto with that. And when you go ahead and transfer that in, but as Stephen mentioned, you know, if you wire or if you're pushing from your other institution, and I think it's important for your audience to understand that, you know, there is, you know, banks have billions of dollars of loss a year in terms of fraud associated with the traditional payment rails, right? So to the extent that your audience is not aware, that's the reason banks have these hold periods in place, because you do see these folks come in and testing the systems. We can watch them in real time as they're doing it, you know, to try and figure out holes in the systems where they can steal money. And traditionally, that's where banks have stood in that gap in the case where there is some loss and shielded customers from that loss, right? So just so the audience understands, that's the reason in the traditional payment rails that you see some of those hold periods that are very frustrating, especially for people that are law-abiding, right, and would never think of stealing anything.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point there, Brad, is that I don't know that a lot of people understand just how much loss occurs in fraud today in traditional fiat banking systems, which kind of sets the tone for all of these I won't call them regulations, rules within a bank to say, hey, this is going to be our policy to do these kind of things. Crypto, of course, has been very interesting because you know, you have instant settlement within wallet to wallet. You've got the DeFi application. There's a lot of new ways for these fraudsters to really kind of attack different financial institutions and exchanges. We're starting to see that. Listen, anytime there's money involved, you're going to have creative criminals involved. So
there's no doubt about that. And I would really encourage people to take that extra step. Make sure you're getting your alerts on your account.
Right.
Make sure you're checking your bank account. Right. Make sure, because you are protected. And our laws, consumer laws, are designed to protect that consumer, to be able to let them go view their account and see if there is any fraudulent activity. We're just telling you that, you know, probably 20% of the accounts that have opened or that we have denied, we see fraudsters coming in and trying to attack. And every single digital bank is involved with those things, and they're seeing similar types of numbers. So just so your audience understands, there are some reasons that some of these frustrations are happening.
Yeah, for sure.
And just to Paul, just to reiterate, one of the frustration, and I feel it myself, by the way, as a customer, right? The frustration that I feel whenever I want to do those purchases and I want to move those funds over, if I pull those, I am frustrated by the system as much as anybody else. And I'm being a part of the system, right? So again, the easiest and most straightforward way if you open a Vast bank account and you want the funds to be available immediately, is go to your other institution and push the funds from the other institution to your Vast bank account. Those funds will be available, immediately as soon as the bank initiates that transfer. There's no hold periods that you have in place because those are good funds. So, usually easily within a day, the ACH and, normal banking business days, your ACHs and wires can be available, and you have the same kind of frustrating times and delays that you would have if you pull it. And we wish there was a better way, but there just isn't in the system today.
Yeah, Stephen, let's go into that, because this is something that we are seeing with some of the traditional banks working with other exchanges. Because as you know, with cryptocurrency, these investors are very sophisticated. They're buying a lot of tokens from a lot of different locations, whether it's over on MetaMask in a swap, maybe on PancakeSwap, or maybe they're looking at a variety of exchanges. The one thing that has happened with a lot of traditional banks is they're starting to lock up the use of and/or slow down the transition of fiat money into these other exchanges. You guys being more crypto friendly, is that something you've addressed to say, hey, listen, when people are using crypto.com or FTX or Voyager or any of these other exchanges, am I free flowing on this without causing red flags in my checking account or within my account there at Vast?
So the short answer is yes. However, having said that, though, we encourage you to buy your cryptocurrency through Vast. So we want to make that experience as smooth as possible. We are crypto friendly in the way that we operate. We're certainly not going to shut out your account because you're doing crypto transactions. And so we are definitely crypto friendly, and we are a proponent. And we hope we can make our experience enough to where we want to compete and we want to make our experience, the best on the market. So we hope you'll stay and keep your business with us, but certainly are willing to support that.
Well, I think the key there is going to be just because there's so many tokens. If you look at something like an Atom or a Phantom, both of which are high-flying tokens right now, people are, in most cases looking at those projects. If it's not available in my Vast account, I'm going to go look elsewhere. Those are traditional investment, aspects, so that you do see more in the crypto space. So it is something that I'm kind of curious on. Now, you guys have on your roadmap, or you've talked about it on your website, that when you're going to be able to withdraw crypto out of the account itself. That says it's coming soon. Is this feature within 2022, or do you feel like that's a more long-term feature?
Yeah, so definitely on the roadmap, and aspects of that are ready to go. Let me maybe provide just a little more detail for the audience and anybody that enjoys research and looking things up. The OCC, Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, is our primary regulator for national banks, and they issued an interpretive letter, it's number 1179, which basically said that any new crypto-related activities that banks needed to submit for a written non-objection. So our intention was to have those things released by now in terms of some vault storage and deposit withdrawal capabilities and some other types of things that customers have been asking for. So certainly we anticipate that in 2022, when we have that written non-objection from the OCC, that we would release those capabilities, but we can't commit to a time frame right now in terms of what that looks like.
What is the objection letter? Where does that come from, Brad?
The written non-objection, if you look at what the OCC is doing, and these are early days, right? The regulators are trying to figure out things, and what the regulators have said is that they're trying to discourage or prevent systemic risk that they've seen happen in other ways. And so in particular, if you think about that deposit withdrawal capability, moving money from one place to another, or even what you were just talking about, where you have self-custodied wallets, right? Mm-hmm. Traditionally, when there's been access into the financial system, people have been KYC'd, know your customer, go through these different checks and balances. So on one side or the other of the transaction, there you have been evaluated, right, in terms of that you're a legitimate customer, that you know, all these things, that it's not synthetic IDs, it's not those fraudsters that I was talking about earlier. So I think one of the real difficulties that the regulators are trying to, in essence, fit a square peg into a round hole with the blockchain and other things, is that trying to create that trust that the two institutions have from a regulatory perspective. And now all of a sudden you have put that trust out in a decentralized way.
Right.
So what happens if you have a money launderer, right, that has created a wallet? And now all of a sudden you give them access into the financial institution, which is layering and placement and all the things that happen in money laundering. So that's probably a longer answer, but I think you've got a pretty technical audience, and perhaps they would like to understand the bigger picture of that.
Yeah, definitely. People are asking us all the time, you know, and they're getting very creative in their ways of how to acquire crypto and the different banking vehicles that are being played out really right now in real time. We're seeing so much of that just because of the amplification of the exchanges. You know, FTX has done their crazy jump with Tom Brady. You've got, you know, crypto.com with more and more personalities with Matt Damon. But if you look at where you guys are going, I want to talk about, you know, just some additional points here. And one, of course, is going to be looking at additional coins. Now, I was looking at your website quickly, just as a quick cursor. I want to go back up to this right here, coins available right now. So, you know, traditionals, I mean, you got Aave in here, which is a DeFi project, Cardano, Ethereum, Chainlink, etc. Then this is more for our podcast audience: Filecoin, Litecoin, Cosmos, Atom, and then Orchid, Algorand, which is a great project, and then Tezos. How do you guys go about the process of adding more coins in there? Are you getting in the metaverse coins and tokens? What do you see around that? Because there's so much growth in that area. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I may take an initial shot at this, and then maybe Stephen can add on to it. So historically, how we made those decisions was based upon a legal analysis, and we focused on those coins that we felt like were going to be non-securities. Okay, now, once you deem it's a non-security, you bring it on platform, there's always the chance that the SEC could say, no, this was a security. Right. So you also have to take that into consideration as well. Okay. So now you layer onto that some of the SEC's comments, some of the things that they're talking about with partners like investment bankers and accountants and attorneys and folks like that saying, hey, don't walk your clients right up to the line and expect that we're going to keep things as a non-security. Okay. So that you've got that kind of messaging that is out there. So the good news is that as a national bank, we have the legal right to custody both securities and non-securities, both in the traditional sense and in the digital asset sense. Okay. The question then for a financial institution or a national bank is, what happens if something that we thought was a non-security is deemed by the SEC to be an illegally issued security for whatever reason, right? Does that liability go to the custodian? Does it go to the exchange? Okay. Where exactly are those things? So, you know, these are complicated topics, right? And so those are the types of things from a risk mitigation perspective as we're bringing those things on our platform that we are considering. Okay, as we bring those things on.
Yeah.
So
you're
Stephen, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Watching the SEC situation pretty heavily, then I'm assuming with what's happening with XRP and just Ripple, because that will most likely give a lot of guidance and I think ethic around what this SEC is going to do in terms of evaluating security versus non.
And there's a path, as I mentioned, as a national bank. You know, your audience can be rest assured, right, that we legally have the ability to custody both. But what we have to do is we have to stay in our lane as that custodian, right? If you start getting into other aspects that blur the lines between
Right.
transfer agents and clearing and all of these different things. I think that as long as we stay in our lane as the custodian, then we'll be fine. Okay, but those are some of the risk mitigation things that we're doing as we are preparing for a roadmap in these OCC white papers. I'm putting that in air quotes. That's just what we're calling our roadmap items.
So Stephen,
with the OCC.
Stephen, short answer: you are onboarding more tokens.
Yeah, we have multiple ones that were approved that are coming, and we're just going through the process. Those are through our internal processes and development activities. So we have some that are ready, but we're making sure that we're doing all the right due diligence to support them. We have a long list of those activities that we want to enhance and continue to support, because we know that our customers would like to see those more tokens on the platform, and we would too. And so, trying to find a way to be able to balance that and to be able to support our customers at the same time.
What would be a perfect world for Vast Bank in, let's say a year? 25, 50, 100 tokens?
I think that our position is that we want to give customers as much choice as we possibly can. And so I think philosophically, the more the better, because it gives customers greater choice. Now, obviously, that needs to be balanced by demand and our need to be able to monitor those particular coins. But from a platform perspective, one of the unique things about our platform is that it is a multi-currency platform.
Yeah.
So in the same way, USD, Euro, whatever, we don't have a limitation in terms of the number of coins we can add. It's really more about that risk mitigation that I was referring to.
Yeah. Let's quickly jump to crypto loans, because we've seen Celsius explode. We've seen a lot of people, especially in these times, where they're starting to leverage in stable coins for yields, staking, those kind of capacities. I just saw a deal now with Nexo, which is another international loan platform, offering like a 36% staking for essentially staking yield on Axie Infinity, which is a metaverse token, a gaming token that's very popular. When you look at that, any crypto loan products coming our way from Vast Bank in the future?
Definitely roadmap items that we see coming out. We think that lending fiat against crypto collateral is likely to be the first stage. And then beyond that, but staking as well, we see that on the roadmap coming. I think the simple answer is that we believe that digital assets, everything that happens in the banking world, we believe digital assets are going to apply. And what do banks do? They store value, they lend against value, and they transfer value, right? So those three things, we think that banking will apply those things in the digital asset world, and you can expect those things are on our roadmap.
Yeah. A couple of things I wanted to hit on. Your rewards checking account, because I'm getting into thinking about, hey, I want to maybe jump in and get into Vast. I'm looking at your homepage. It's got an earn 3% APY on deposits. That's on the checking account side. But if you look over here on this section, I believe it was, I'm trying to remember where. Yeah, I think it was right here. The rewards checking is earn up to 2.5, and there are some requirements on doing that. So is this just a scenario where you have different functions within the system for rewards earning if I want to open a traditional fiat account there? How does that play out?
Yeah, so I'm not seeing that screen. Maybe Stephen can help me. So I'm not quite seeing it. I think that what you're probably referring to, right now we have launched the Vast Crypto Banking product, which is the national digital product, right? And that is on our new platform. We also have our traditional banking product, which our legacy customers are on. I hope if any of our customers are watching, they don't mind us referring to them as legacy customers, right? that were there, right? But they are on the existing platform. And I believe what you are looking at is a product offering. Yeah, it was on that traditional platform.
Yeah, so I'm on the new product, which is the 3% APY on deposits, or the point 0.3, I should say, 0.3%
Yeah, there we go.
APY
I was going
on
to say 3%
deposits.
sounded pretty aggressive.
Yeah, yeah. Debit card, obviously we've got all that. Um, Now I still have my FDIC insurance on my checking account. What about assets in my crypto wallets?
Those are not FDIC insured. Okay, and Coinbase is our partner,
Hmm.
on that side, and there is insurance through that Coinbase
Okay.
relationship that we have, institutional relationship.
Coinbase custody. Are you guys utilizing Fireblocks, from an aspect of security measurement for, cold storage, et cetera?
No, we're not using
I keep expecting.
Fireblocks. Yeah, we're not using Fireblocks. We actually have selected another partner. We haven't publicly announced the offering that we're going to be doing on the custody side, but there's one of Fireblocks' competitor. We did evaluate them pretty significantly in that, but as soon as we get the OCC non-objection approval for us to be able to launch that product, then we would intend to make more communications about that product.
Yeah, obviously security is a big deal. People want to know their
Yep.
coins are safe, and obviously, I think with what you guys have done, you're going through those kind of steps, which is the thing I talk about a lot of, whether you're using, popular exchanges or very trusted exchanges out there, or banks, because there really has not been many banks out there that are doing what you guys are doing. So you're kind of jumping into the fray here for the first time, and now you're going to be a consideration point. So of course that is going to be a big factor. So earning up to 0.3% on the checking side of things. When you look at any kind of scenarios with staking, I know that's in your roadmap. Obviously, loans potentially being in your roadmap. How do you see this, Brad? This might be for you. How do you see this changing the face of banking, traditional banking, over the next decade?
Man, that's a great question. I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see how the traditional payment rails, which you started with, right, in terms of some of the friction that is involved with doing that. I think that digital assets, the ability to transfer, maybe it's a USDC, maybe it's, I'm not sure exactly where that's going to be, but the ability to have instant transfer and trust across, I think that's going to be a big component.
Yeah.
I think that like you see anything else, we're at 1% right now, which we feel is a strong offering in the retail, side in terms of the transfer fees. I think that custody my point is that I think you're going to see margins start to compress as more people do get involved or more entities get involved. You have greater liquidity in this system. On the staking side, you'll likely see yields come down, as well. So the more folks that get involved, the more liquidity there is, the more risk mitigation. I think that's going to be very beneficial to customers. And we believe that there's going to be a lot of consolidation in the financial services industry. We would those that are aware of Gartner, say by 2028, 80% of financial institutions are going to be heritage financial institutions and either irrelevant or gone. And so that's one of the reasons we're taking the steps that we're taking. We don't want to be irrelevant. We want to be a digital leader. We want and intend to continue to change and continue to meet customers and those preference changes. And we intend to do it as a national bank, which should give people confidence that we're doing things in a safe and sound manner in a way that they can trust. And so I'd love your audience to come join us on that journey. I mean, we've got a great product. We are continuing on the journey, and we're going to continue to enhance it along the way.
Yeah. Last question. I wanted to jump over to you, Stephen, for a second. On stable coins, we'll see most likely some regulatory movement on that very soon. USDC seems to be leading the pack, at least here in the U.S. Obviously, we see Tether and what's happening there. But if you look at some of the projects that are out there in these mostly exchanges, if I'm parking USDC, these stable coins, and using either a credit card or a debit card and using the USDC as a funding source, any plans for you guys to go that route with the credit and debit cards for being able to access maybe a stable coin that would come to your platform?
Yeah, I think the way I would look at that is a couple different things. One is crypto enabling the debit cards is something that we've spent a lot of time designing and talking about. It's definitely, as Brad said, in our roadmap for how we're approaching that piece. For having USDC as well as doing the funds transfer that he alluded to, right? I think we are seeing the demand and the drive for those pieces. We are working with our regulators to make sure we're doing that in a way that's safe and sound. But those things are definitely in our roadmap for implementing those components.
Yeah, well, I think the good point is that we've got some banks and some leaders like you guys out there starting to test the waters and really put some pressure on the system, which I think is a system that needed to have a little pressure in it. And now you've got a massive underlying economy that's happening within a $1.5 trillion market right now, which is still most likely going to see the liquidity levels of what we've seen with gold in the future, somewhere in the $10 trillion market phase. So it's definitely going to see a lot more action in this space. Listen, it's been great having both you guys on again. I can't wait to see what you guys continue to do over there at Vast. Good work. This is going to be fun. Love to see this kind of stuff, but thanks for stopping in.
Thanks so much, Paul. Really appreciate it.
Excellent.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, so you guys, of course, are listening in over on the podcast right now. Listen, you'll be able to tune into all of our shows, including our analysis, some of our crypto power index, a lot of these kinds of interviews, and then you do that over on YouTube. Just search Paul Barron Network, you'll find us. And of course, you can get to do one thing, and that is join the Diamond Circle. It's our own private member group where we drop a lot of analysis, a lot of our own reviews, and a lot of our own data on that group. So it's free, and just jump in the link below. If you, of course, want to reach out to me, it's out on Twitter at Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.